Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to Aussie Fish Keeping. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 7 of the best fish that you can keep in a 10-gallon aquarium. So obviously here in Australia, we use litres instead of gallons. So the equivalent of a 10-gallon aquarium here in Australia is 40 litres. So all of these fish are compatible with any tank size from 40 litres and up. But yeah, without any further ado, let's jump straight into today's video. So the first fish on our list is Crebensis cichlids. So Crebensis are a great little South American cichlid. They are super peaceful and they're also great to have in a community tank. They are generally kept by themselves, although they do well in a pair. The females generally get a really nice pink spot on their stomach and the males don't, which is quite strange, especially within fish, that the female looks nicer than the male. Crebensis generally stay around the bottom of your aquarium, so it's always great to add little hiding spots for them, just so they can feel safe, or you can even add stuff like coconut caves if you're trying to breed them. So you probably wouldn't want to keep Crebensis with anything smaller than a Hengli, especially if it is a bottom-dwelling fish like a bumblebee goby or a shrimp, just because Crebensis are actually predators and they will actually eat those guys. So it's definitely a good idea to keep a heater in your Crebensis aquarium just to try and avoid any sort of illnesses like white spot from coming around. It will also help with keeping your Crebensis active so that you see them throughout your tank a lot more. But yeah, definitely a great fish for a 10-gallon aquarium are Crebensis. Moving on to the next fish on our list, we have a super common little tropical fish. We have paradise fish. So paradise fish were one of the first fish I ever kept, and they really are quite a beautiful species. They are a species of gourami and they can get quite large, although they don't actually need that much space in their aquarium. They do like a planted aquarium, or at least an aquarium with a few plants in it. That just helps bring out their colors and really enhances them. So being a gourami, they can be a little bit territorial at times, although they are more of a peaceful fish, which means you can keep them with smaller tetras. The only things I wouldn't keep with these guys is shrimp, just because they can prey on them quite easily, and anything actually bigger than the paradise fish, just because they are quite a defenseless fish and they will fight back if they need to, although generally they're just a really shy little fish. So these guys don't actually need a heater in their aquarium, and you can actually keep them in ponds here in Australia. Obviously it would be quite beneficial to have a heater in their aquarium, although it's definitely not necessary whatsoever. So for those reasons, I think paradise fish are another great fish for your 10-gallon aquarium. Moving on to the next fish on our list, we have a little bit of a more exotic fish. We have shell dwellers. So in particular, I'm talking about multis and similis, just because they are generally the smaller species of shell dwellers. So shell dwellers obviously live in shells at the bottom of your aquarium, so it is definitely vital to add some sort of shells in there for them to hide in, and they will use them as caves to breed in as well. So shell dwellers do actually like quite hard water, and they like a pH of around 7.8 to 9. So for these guys, you can use some sort of cichlid buffer or even Texas Holy Rock. And generally, you should also keep these guys in a heated aquarium of around 24 degrees Celsius. So there is not many fish that can actually be compatible with these guys just because of the water parameters, although you can keep stuff like mollies or even danios, I'm sure would go well in there. But anything other than that, especially the more fickle sort of tetras and everything, definitely would not go well with these guys. Not because they are an aggressive fish, but just because of the water parameters you need for them to stay healthy. So with that being said, they are a peaceful fish, although when it comes to breeding and defending their shells, they can be quite aggressive at times. Only to each other really, but besides that, they are quite peaceful with everything else in the aquarium. So these guys actually exhibit some really unique behaviors, and they're really just a fun fish to sit down and watch. And having them in a smaller aquarium makes it a lot easier for you to view these really cool behaviors from them. But yeah, shell dwellers are definitely another great option for a 10-gallon aquarium. Moving on to the next fish on our list, we have an Australian native. We have blue eyes. So there is quite an array of different blue eyes out there, although my favorite are the neon red blue eyes. So blue eyes in general are very small little fish, and they generally stay in the mid to top of your water column. Also, being an Australian native, they don't really need a heater and they can be kept outside here in Australia. So in a 10-gallon aquarium, it would be best to keep these guys in a group of around 4 to 5. So having them in a group like this with males and females, it will really help your males exhibit their beautiful colors, just because they flare off to the females a lot of the time. So the best way to describe a blue eye to anybody who's never really seen them at all is they are pretty much just a small rainbow fish, and they pretty much require the exact same needs as rainbow fish do as well. So blue eyes are quite a peaceful fish, and they can nip at other fish every now and then, although most of the time they can go well with other tropical fish. So things like guppies, tetras, all those sorts of small nano fish, they can go perfectly fine with. And they can also go fine with things like crebensis and paradise fish. Besides that, they require pretty basic needs, and they are a super easy fish to care for and breed. Obviously, as well, they don't require a really big tank, which makes them a perfect fish for your 10-gallon aquarium. Now, moving on to the next fish on our list, we have a super popular one here in Australia. We have Apistos. So there is such a wide variety of different species of Apistos that you can get. So here in Australia, the most common species of Apistos are the Cacatoides and Agassizii. Although there's obviously a range of different other exotic Apistos like Penduros or Trifiscata. So Apistos, or otherwise known as cockatoo cichlids, are absolutely beautiful fish, and the males are just super stunning. So it's always great to keep these guys in a pair, and this will just help again with the males to exhibit their color. So as well as them being a super good fish for a smaller sized aquarium, they are also a super easy fish to breed, and I would highly recommend them for any beginner breeder. But that's besides the point. So for these guys, you will want a heated aquarium, obviously just to avoid white spot and illnesses like that. And it will also just help them become more active because it's most like their natural environment. So a great thing about these guys is they can actually be kept in blackwater setups, and they actually thrive really well in those sorts of environments. So that is definitely a interesting and unique aspect that you can do to your tank, just to make it a little bit more appealing. So Apistos can be quite peaceful fish, although at times they can also be quite territorial, especially when they're trying to breed. Although having them with a few dither fish like guppies or denios is perfectly fine, and it generally enhances their parenting skills as well, just because they are taking all their aggression out on the dithers instead of their partner. But when they're not breeding, Apistos are a super great community fish, and they can cohabitate with a lot of the smaller sized tetras. Again, with these guys, you don't want to keep them with any shrimp, just because obviously they are also predators and they will definitely eat those up really quick. But with that being said, Apistos are another great 10-gallon aquarium fish option. So moving on to the next fish on our list, we have German blue rams. So rams in general are great little nano fish, and you can get a super large range of them. So you can obviously get the dark night, you can get the blue black, German blue rams, electric blue, gold rams, or even a bunch of different varieties of balloon rams. And all of these different strains are great options for your 10-gallon aquarium. So rams, much like the Apistos, do need a heater in their aquarium, and they are best kept in pairs, just because it will enhance both of their colors. So the great thing about rams is that the males and females both exhibit super duper vibrant colors, although obviously around breeding time the male will just get absolutely stunning colors, and they are really a unique fish. So in my experience, I find that rams are a little bit more aggressive than Apistos, and they can be in community aquariums as long as the aquarium is a little bit on the larger side. Although again, keeping them with dither fish is perfectly fine, and they shouldn't really affect the rams too much. Again, you don't want to keep these guys with shrimp whatsoever, but pretty much any other smaller dither fish or just tropical fish in general should be alright, as long as they don't really get in the ram's way or don't nip at the rams. But yeah, rams are definitely another great little 10-gallon aquarium fish option as well. So moving on to the final fish on our list, we have a super popular beginner fish. We have Bristlenose Catfish. So a lot of beginners actually get Bristlenose Catfish just because they are labeled as cleaner fish, although this isn't true, and they actually do get quite large. So obviously they do eat a lot of the algae off the surface of your aquarium, which is super beneficial, although they definitely need to be fed by themselves as well. So a lot of people just think you can throw them in your aquarium and just feed your normal fish food, although they do need a really high herbivorous diet, and some of the bristlenose species also need wood in their aquarium. So a nice algae wafer is a perfect little fish food for these guys, and any other really high protein sinking pellet would be perfectly fine as well. So bristlenose catfish are an extremely hardy little fish, and they can be kept with a variety of different tank mates. Obviously they have the really protective armor plating on them, which is definitely beneficial when it comes to more aggressive fish nipping at them, but they should not affect any fish whatsoever. They are super timid fish, and most of the time they will hide, especially if you have a really heavily planted aquarium or you have a lot of different nooks and crannies that they can hide in. So it's definitely beneficial to keep these guys with a heater. It will just enhance their activity around your aquarium, and it just makes them a lot more healthier, which is obviously what you want. But yeah, bristlenose catfish are definitely one of the best 10-gallon aquarium fish options that you can get, and I would highly recommend them to anyone. But with that being said, that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope I helped you guys find a new fish for your 10-gallon aquarium. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below. If you want more videos like this, also comment that. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in that next video.